Hello guys, today we're going to be doing a video on Elden Ring using the GTX 1050 Ti. We're running a Ryzen 3700X with 32GB of RAM running at 3200 MHz. Alright, here we go. We're starting it off with 1080p on the low settings. And, well, looking back here, we get a pretty bad frame drop already, even though we're indoors. That's surprising. But, I've got around 40 hours into the game now, so, I can tell what areas are very demanding and what and how the game's gonna run normally. This is obviously a new character, so we're in the spawn area, and this spawn area is very is one of the most demanding areas in the game. You will always get a frame drop here. It doesn't matter what card you're using, what PC specs you have. This spawn area, you will always get a frame drop. So I'm guessing that will get patched up, since seems to be a game issue and not an issue with the hardware. And one more thing is, with 1080p low, you will get a lot of pop-in, a lot of shadow pop-in under the trees, around the bushes. So this kind of ruins the immersion of the game. So you don't really want to be playing on the low settings. I mean, you can, since you'll be in the 50s range with the FPS. And you can hold 60 obviously as well in the less demanding areas, but you'll be in the mid 50s to 60s, and then you'll get dips in the heavier areas into the 40s. But from my experience, like, these demanding areas aren't too common. They usually happen in the spawn area and in areas where there's a lot of particle, like if you're fighting a dragon and the dragon shoots flames. Flames will cause you a pretty big frame drop. From 3080, it's like a 10 FPS difference. You fall to 50 and then go back up to 60. But it's around there. The enemies will cause you to have frame drops if they have a lot of particles in their attacks. Alright, let's jump into 1080p on medium settings. Okay. Looking back there, we're getting 40 FPS, which was around the same as 1080p low. But that's not really a concern, as the game seems like it's quite easy to run, or at least it's decent to run in most cases. You will have areas that are super demanding and it will always cause an FPS drop. Even with a 3080, the spawn area, I still get a 10 to 50 FPS drop. So you will always have areas like that, but 80% of the game at least is quite good to run. Looking back there, we dropped down to 37 FPS, which is far more than we did on 1080p low. Wow. And these frame rates are kind of stuttery as well, I've got to say. In other games, if you get a slight frame drop, you don't really feel it. It doesn't impact your gameplay too much. In this game, even a slight frame drop, you feel it, and it kind of ruins the experience. I am using a keyboard and mouse, and this game feels much better with controller. The camera panning, camera movements just feel smoother. Especially when you do get those frame drops, the camera panning feels much better with a controller than with a keyboard and mouse. So that's probably impacting it a little bit as well. But yeah, let's put this to high. Okay, 1080p on the high settings. I'm guessing this is going to be the 30 FPS range. The console-like experience on the PS4 or the Xbox One. And we don't want to fall below into 20s, that would be ideal. And yep, we're sitting around 31 to 30 FPS. If you're playing at 1080p high, I would just cap the frame rate to 30, just so you can have a stable experience. Since it looks like our max frame rate so far has been 50, but I am looking down right now. Let me look up a little bit. Yeah, so you're gonna be around 45 FPS on average on 1080p high. But you will get pretty bad dips into the 30s. So I would just cap the frame rate to 30, just so you can have a stable frame rate. And you can always go back in the settings and adjust the presets. Since the presets aren't perfect, it will have some settings that are super demanding and will cause you huge frame rate issues. So that would be the ideal thing to do. But if you're not gonna do that, just stick with medium. Or you can play on low if you want to get 60, but you will get popping with shadows. Alright, I wanted to go ahead and test out 720p, just so we can see if we can hold a steady 60 the whole time. But I'm sure that we won't, since this area... Oh wow, okay. We actually hold 60 now. Okay. This area, as we saw before, was super demanding. It always is. But I'll be holding very close to 60. And the game looks... I mean, it's looking pretty good. For 720p, you can't really complain since we are holding a steady 60 the whole time. Just the only issue with it is the shadow problem. The shadow pop-in is just, it's very distracting. But if you don't mind, this is perfect for stable 60. But this game is definitely playable at below 60 as well, as long as it's stable. If you can hold a steady frame rate, you can play below 60 FPS. Okay, let's try out 720p on medium settings, since I feel like this is where we're gonna fall below 60. I hope not, but... Okay, let's get going. Yeah, this is far more intensive than 720p low, for sure. We are in the mid-50s now, to low 50s. So we can't hold a stable 60 anymore on medium. But the positive thing is that we're not getting any more pop-in at all. There's no shadow pop-in, there's none of that, none of the flickering thing in the background. So this is perfect. We are pretty close to 60, so it's only a 5 FPS difference. A 5 to 10 FPS difference, so it's no big deal. Okay, the final thing, I'm going to do a comparison between 720p medium without NIS and with NIS. And this right here is with NIS enabled, and what you saw before was without it. So you guys can go ahead and compare, see if you see a big difference in the visual quality and the resolution. We do have some sharpening now as well, and the video image is being upscaled to 1080p instead of running it just at 720p. Alright, I'm going to end the video here, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. If you did, give it a like, and a subscription will be highly appreciated. See you next time.